You know, working on a ship's hull underwater, it has to be one of the most hazardous jobs out there in the whole marine industry. It is a place where even the tiniest mistake can have absolutely catastrophic consequences. So how in the world do the pros manage this incredible risk?
When you think about the dangers, what comes to mind? You're probably thinking about the crushing pressure of the deep, maybe the terrible visibility, or even, some kind of scary marine life. But what if the greatest threat is something else entirely? That's right. The most significant dangers actually come from the very vessel the diver is there to service. We're talking about its propellers, its thrusters, and its incredibly powerful water intakes. These systems can just fire up without any warning, and often, the people operating them have absolutely no idea that a diver is even in the water.
All right, so to really get a handle on how professionals manage this, we're going to break down the 4 pillars of a safe operation. And this is all based on best practices from the International Marine Contractors Association, or IMCA.
First up, the people, because safety isn't about just one person being careful. It's about a clearly defined chain of responsibility, where everybody knows their role and exactly what they owe to one another.
At the very heart of a safe operation, you've got this crucial link between 2 leaders, the vessel master, who's in charge of the entire ship, and the diving supervisor, who runs the dive. Their constant communication and coordination, that's the real bedrock of safety.
The vessel master's job, really, is to get the ship ready to be a safe work site. They control the environment around the dive, so that means shutting down any nearby operations, pointing out every single underwater hazard, and, this is the big one, making sure dangerous machinery is physically isolated and locked out through a formal permit-to-work system.
So think of it this way. If the master controls the ship, the supervisor controls the dive. They are the final gatekeeper. They're verifying the whole team's qualifications, inspecting every single piece of gear, and keeping that communication line open at all times. A dive only starts on their explicit command, period.
Okay, so you've got the right people in place. The next pillar is the plan they have to create together. Because in this line of work, a safe dive is never, ever improvised.
Getting permission to even get in the water is a formal, multi-step process. It all kicks off with a joint risk assessment by both the ship's crew and the dive team. That assessment then feeds a detailed diving project plan, which gets integrated into the vessel's own permit-to-work system. The final green light, that only comes after a full team review and briefing.
This quote from the IMCA guidance, this is the why behind all that planning. The person in the engine room who can start a pump or a thruster has zero visibility of the diver. The formal plan and the permit system are the only thing standing between that diver and a catastrophic, completely unintentional accident.
And that risk assessment, it has to be absolutely exhaustive. We're not just talking about the ship's machinery here. It covers everything from water currents and visibility to crane operations happening on the quay. It even plans for the worst-case scenarios, like how do we rescue an unconscious diver, or what do we do if the water's contaminated?
So, with the right people and a solid plan, now we need the physical protections and the non-negotiable rules that make up the next layer of safety.
This is the core principle right here. Secure isolation does not mean just flipping a switch. No, it means going to the main breaker, disconnecting the power, and putting a physical lock on it. A lock that can only be removed by an authorized person once the dive is officially over and everyone's out.
And this is absolutely critical. A control switch up on the bridge is not good enough. It could fail, it could get bumped, it could even be bypassed. The only way to be 100% certain a propeller or a pump is not going to start is to isolate the main power source. There's no room for ambiguity here. A diver's life depends entirely on an uninterrupted supply of breathing gas, so redundancy is everything. You've got the primary supply coming from the surface, then a completely independent secondary supply on standby, and then a personal reserve bottle, the bailout, strapped right to the diver for self-rescue. It's just layers upon layers of backup.
And look, these are the hard rules. Professional ship husbandry is not done with scuba gear. It requires a surface-supplied umbilical that gives you unlimited gas and hardwired communication. That constant, clear voice contact with the supervisor is non-negotiable. And for every single diver in the water, there has to be a fully dressed standby diver on the surface, ready to launch a rescue in seconds.
But, even the best plans and all the best protections can't account for absolutely everything. So, the final pillar of safety is having a robust, well-rehearsed plan for when things do go wrong. This number is critical. For shallower dives, a recompression chamber to treat decompression illness has to be reachable within 2 hours. For any dive deeper than 10 meters, a fully operational chamber has to be right there on site, ready for immediate use. This isn't something you try to figure out during an emergency. It is planned long in advance. A good emergency plan isn't some vague idea. It's a playbook. It has specific procedures for specific events. What is the exact step-by-step procedure to recover an unconscious diver from under the hull? What happens if there's a fire on the dive station? The team has to have these answers and have drilled these scenarios way before they ever happen for real.
So, when you put it all together, what's the key takeaway here? It's that in this incredibly high-stakes environment, safety is not an accident. It's a system, deliberately and meticulously constructed.
This is the foundation. It all starts with the right people in clearly defined roles. Together, they create a detailed plan. They use the right equipment and enforce hard and fast rules. And they are always prepared with a plan B. When all 4 of these pillars are strong, you create a culture of safety that protects everyone involved.
And that's really the ultimate question we should all be asking ourselves. Because at the end of the day, all of these procedures, all these plans, and all these pieces of equipment exist for one simple reason: to make sure the person working in that incredibly hostile environment comes home safely, every single time.